Hello, listeners, and welcome once again to the Monsters Playbook Book Club. So we're going to be doing a couple of different things. One of the things we're going to be doing is talking about something very exciting in the future, but we're going to let that remain in the future for now. What we're going to be spending the most of our time doing is talking about the past, because this is Book Club covering the story for Act 3 and therefore all of Season 2.
Yeah.
We'll be answering some questions from our listeners, some questions from ourselves, which I think is as good a transition as any into my first question for everybody. What was everybody's least favorite part?
I never know how to answer that, Jonny.
Not prepared for these questions.
You know what I really hated?
Yes.
Oh, no, I know. It was actually probably you killing Riley. That probably took the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was honestly pretty bad.
That was dark. Especially because I played her as a character in a couple of one-shots. So it felt like, like my character was dying a little bit. And it was very, very sad.
Well, now that I'm realizing that I shouldn't have started with that one, I would like to go around and hear from everybody. What was your favorite moment? What was your favorite moment of your own character? And I think to start this off, and by way of introduction, because this might be a surprise special guest, is that Sarah, who played Tiff, is here with us to talk about all of Season 2 and all that fan favorite Tiff content.
Yay! Wiggle, wiggle.
Sarah, what was your favorite Tiff moment of the last section or the section before? Basically, in all of the cover story, what was your favorite character moment?
Oh, I liked all of them. I liked the reveal at the end. That was spooky. I was really looking forward to that. I liked when she got a happy ending with Leth. And I liked that moment when I absolutely fucked up with the tarot reading or with the number.
Yes.
I
need to be unblocked.
Being unblocked, yeah.
Oh,
That was so good.
My third eye.
Good.
I meant on my phone.
That was my favorite. That was awesome.
Because it was you who fucked it up. You misinterpreted the human.
That was
You couldn't have done it
fully
any
me
better
spacing out.
if you'd have planned to. Okay, Miah, let's go to you next. Favorite Theo moment, and then I think we'll come back to you.
When Theo asked the ghost in the McDonald's parking lot, so you're not loving
That was
it.
pretty traumatic.
That was pretty good. Or the
moment.
Dockers. Is he a cop?
Oh, is he a cop?
That was also
Yes.
very good.
Theo's
That one
Theo's
killed me.
random out of character questions are very hilarious. Yeah, I don't want to do any spoilers, but I think you get more of Theo in Season 3. So
Some good stuff yet to come.
John, favorite Mark moment?
I mean, that Dockers one was pretty good. Did Mark get a house in Season 2? I don't even know.
I think he technically got a
At
house
the end.
No, I think he technically got a house in Season 1. It's just that he didn't have any furniture for it.
Oh, that's right. So sorry.
You just lived in a big empty house with gray walls. Men will really live like this.
I was gonna say I do think the day that I was able to go shopping to get some furniture, I think that was probably one of my better moments. Were we talking about parts we didn't like?
We were. You could talk about. I always would like to hear about
Yeah,
that.
I fucking lost my wig.
Oh, but
yeah.
That one hurt.
Yeah.
That one hurt. And I think it was self-inflicted, but that one hurt.
Yep.
It's for a good cause. Lauren, Kira, Hannah.
My favorite moments for Anna was probably asking Lincoln Ramsey for a job. Because I think it has some potential options to grow from there, but it was just really fun. I just really enjoyed Lincoln and Ramsey's character. And their interactions with Anna specifically are very much just like, they just give each other shit all the time, and I really just enjoy that kind of dynamic. So that was a lot of fun. And honestly, Anna and Mark's whole escapades during those
So
episodes of getting the phone and running into Rex.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. That was a huge revelation.
Yeah.
and the gumball machine outside and everything. It was a whole thing.
That dynamic is one that I'm a sucker for. The two people who don't know how to do a thing trying to teach each other to do the thing.
Yep.
Escalating to mental dominion over the person to get a deal on a phone. Another thing I didn't like was the whole thing, Jonny, where you followed me out of I forget what it was. I was like carrying a bed sheet or something like that.
Yeah, that's Chicago in Chicago.
The sword sheet ghost ?
Yeah, I honestly had no, like, I was going on that journey with you too, and it just didn't go where I wanted it to.
It went where it needed to.
It did go where it needed to.
As it always does. As it always does.
As far as for Kira, it's really hard to choose, but I think my absolute favorite moment is probably her final speech that she gives for Riley's funeral for Dawnbreak. I think it was just a really nice button on the season. And it also really speaks to kind of where her character journey is going to progress for season 3, as kind of reluctantly, actually for the first time, choosing to lead this group of people that up until now she hasn't really wanted to because, you know, they're a cult. But any of the moments where Kira really just chooses compassion and connection and love over violence and hate are the ones that are my favorites.
Yeah, Kira's speech at the funeral is great foreshadowing.
Yeah, now read into that, listeners.
Yeah, interesting. Miah, favorite Casey Davis moment?
Yeah, I do also want to, if you don't mind, circle back to least favorite Theo moment. I think it was the moment between Theo and Jacob in Chicago when she was leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just got to get these out, Jonny.
I understand. I asked for it.
I mean, yeah, to be
But then I thought you guys weren't enjoying it, so I let you move on. But now here we are. So this is why I am how I'm like.
I know that my least favorite Casey moments, and I guess maybe this is just me as like a player, was whenever Casey got into fights with the other PCs. So like when she got into fights with Kira, or like with Tiff, going off on Tiff about leaving.
Oh, but
us.
you liked that though.
Well, it felt true to the character and how I would react, but it wasn't fun. Like, especially like editing it back. I was just like, oh god.
Also, another up there moment for Kira would be actually what we deemed shadow therapy session with Tiff. Really loved that. That was really good.
I love that too.
Well, as long as you guys are letting me do this, and before we move on and I have to relinquish control and give up the chair. Sarah, what was your least favorite Tiff moment? And is it the one that I hope it was?
Oh, I want to know what you're thinking of. It was genuinely really, really stressful when there was like a lot of tension between Tiff and the group. Like, I think specifically when Tiff left everyone behind there, and everyone was really mad at her. That was really stressful. I think the thing that like I regret was when she was kind of like shoulder checking Theo there after all that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was like, she went so hard, and Theo was like having a really emotional moment that Tiff was just kind of bulldozing right past. And like listening back to that, I was like, oof.
Yeah, I thought about that as being one of Theo's like worst moments, but her brother beat you out.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, that one was rough too.
Wait, was Tiff the one I asked the question at the party about?
If you wanted to pretend to be her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yep.
God damn it.
I don't even think that like made its way into Tiff's long-term memories. She was just kind of like,
You're just like,
that
yep,
seems
that's
like
a
Just
Mark
another
thing to
dude.
say.
Another white dude.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he did say that. I don't even remember feeling bad, though I certainly was. I think my favorite moment was probably when at the hospital in Chicago when Theo went outside to talk to the Star King, and Mark came out too, because there was just a lot of like groundwork being done without having to make it feel exposition-y, which is my very favorite thing. And it was also a very good reveal for one of my very favorite NPCs that I've come up with. Look to the sky. Yeah. Very good. And Tiff, yes, what I was thinking of was the when you went to Leth for the reading and the vibe you got off her, and the way I described that is one of the worst things I've ever done to another human being.
I thought of that. I still think of that like so frequently. Like that was just like the best line ever.
And it
deeply upsetting.
It destroyed you.
It's haunting. Like that feeling is so visceral.
It's like, yeah.
Just smaller and less important than before.
So I think I've thought of a moment,
all right.
a favorite moment of Casey, and of course it also poofs out of my fucking head.
Bring us out of the darkness, Miah.
Sort of like my favorite back-to-back scene was when Casey was leaving Tessa when she and Sigma got into protection, and then went in the elevator with Nick, and then talked to Anna, and then went back and fade to black.
Yeah.
But then also like I feel like some of my favorite moments that I can't note off the top of my head, but like any moment with Jesse. Because like thinking about when Kira gave Jesse his memories of Casey back was very cute. Jesse teasing Casey about give us a speech, and it's just like I know, like, and just like the little like side comments that Jesse makes to Casey of like I know she can, and like I don't have a big brother, but I imagine if I did, it'd be Jesse.
Yeah. The Kira, even though it caused a lot of problems, like the Casey kissing Kira scene remains also up there. We all four of us were crying, I believe, at the end of that scene. So it was very intense.
That was intense.
Yeah.
Can I ask you the next question, Jonny?
Yes.
I guess this is just us putting it back in your face. What was the most devastating scene in season 2, whether it was caused by you or by another player?
So that's a tough question. I caused a lot of devastation, but I do think I think from me, it's probably Mark's odd backstory, like
the reality of what actually happened, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I say that aloud, I'm like, it's also actually it's Kira too, that like, and I don't want to necessarily go too deep into the actual theming. No, I do. I really, really want to talk about this.
Is this Donovan Dishes? I'm just kidding.
Welcome. No, this is Johnny's pretentiousness corner.
We're covering the story.
The theme that I tried to push in this show and basically in games at all, and it's part of like a thing that I think about stories, which is that the most important thing about you is what you do next. And so this idea that you have been through so much already, and then in season 2, the thing I was sort of layering on top of all of that was that there are these things that or even worse, that either you don't remember or were taken away from you. And like these things that if you were a person who wasn't able to believe that, then this new knowledge would have broken you. But because you kind of had each other and because you had this thing to keep you moving forward, it didn't make it any less devastating for those things to show up and for those things to be true, but it didn't fully devastate you.
I think that you said that extremely well, because I can think. Well,
I can confirm you said that very well.
Well, because like I was thinking of each of our characters.
I really just assume a dig is coming at this point.
No, it's not. I'm just really bad with words. But I think that like not only are you like a really great storyteller to focus on that, but we are also really good players and storytellers in our own, like, because I can see that goal in Kira and Anna and in Mark and in Casey and Theo, as well as in Tiff.
We've definitely talked about this sort of thing before, that because you guys have these complicated tragedies in your backstories, that it becomes organic for you. And like the big reveal of Tiff's deal, for example, was actually like Tiff's relationship to the Queen is a 2-part reveal, because on the one hand, you eventually come to figure out that she is and has been for decades in an abusive relationship with a demigod. And then at the end, you find out that actually she escaped the cycle, but then sort of is now accidentally perpetuating it. And like that stuff, it doesn't have to just be devastation for its own sake because of the way the story goes and because of the way the game is played. You now all have to live with that and fight and get through every challenge in your life through the lens of it. And that pushes me to introduce scenes that I know will be resonant, and also introduce scenes that will be, that struggle in microcosms, so that you and your character can see their inner demons and fight them and continue trying to win every single day, which is what happens when bad things happen to you.
Well, with each of our characters too, like there's the supernatural difficulty and struggle, but then there's also like the normalcy. Like, tell me if you disagree, Sarah, but yes, you had this abusive relationship with the Queen, but the thing that stuck out with me is like when you saw your werewolf friend
Jenna,
when you saw Jenna again, she's like, oh my god, she has a family and like she has her life, and Leth is like, you want that, don't you? Or like whatever.
You're jealous.
That speaks to my 30-year-old millennial self. Like, it just felt so like all of us wanting to feel or pretending to be an adult. And
yeah,
I don't know. That was really relatable.
Oh yeah, that was a full self-insert moment.
I think we've all done that on this show.
Yeah.
If I may ask the next few questions, since they are from me. Sarah, I want to know, how are Tiff and Leth doing after the fall of the drum? What are they up to?
How's the farm?
What are they doing?
The farm is so good. They have a couple of goats. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to fully write them a happy ending in my head and continue it.
Aww.
Regardless of any realities that may be. I'd like to think they like move like up north a little bit, and get a little piece of land. And I think Tiff is like kind of going through a midlife crisis, and she needs to kind of reinvent herself. And so I really see her kind of throwing herself into like building fences and like, doing
projects.
Like really tangible
I love that for
projects.
her.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing for money.
I didn't think Casey would do the same. Well, whenever you are ready and can, we will absorb that fanfic that you write.
This is one of the awkward and delightful things about how long we've been playing games together, is that I also still remember Tiff and Leth's first kiss.
Oh my god, me too.
It was really good, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's a question that we actually have later on, so why don't we pivot to that right now, since that's a good
All
segue.
right.
How did Tiff and Leth first meet?
Yes.
What's the backstory there?
Okay, it's probably gonna be wrong because this was so long ago. But Leth was the leader of like this group of kids called the Under the Stairs Kids, who I think you guys have run into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we first like went to her apartment to get help. We were like stumped on some sort of problem, and she was there. And I remember it was just immediately like, oh, that's somebody that Tiff's gonna have a crush on. And then I think from then on, she was like someone they always ran to when they needed help. And yeah, that's how they met.
Yep, that's precisely right. She was their de facto leader, and you went to her and you wrote a really good song about her that's on the Games We Play Volume 1.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
like me? And then jumping off of that, what ended up being the thing that finally drove you guys apart when you broke up like for good? Because you guys dated a little while in like high school, broke up, got back together for a long time, and then broke up again. So what happened then?
Yeah. Well, I think it was, we didn't play any of this, so this is truly just full headcanon, but I definitely think it was the Queen continuing to be an issue throughout the relationship, and Tiff's kind of like wavering loyalty the queen is asking for more and more, and it's kind of bringing Tiff away. And Leth has always hated the queen, which has obviously driven a wedge. I think we talked about the dream dive having a significant, being kind of like the ending factor too, where like
with Casey,
Tiff had this kind of devastating event happen at work, and was kind of like feeling the need to pull away and feeling like she was not a dateable person.
Tiff,
Wop wop.
Well, you guys are together now, so that's the good news.
It all works out in the end. All you have to do, the lesson is
just let Jonny do his thing.
Kill the demigod that lives in your head and replace them for a while, and then figure out that you did that, and then merge back together into one.
I don't think that applies to everybody.
No, that's
you
how
know what
it
I
works.
think the real lesson here is? Sometimes you just got to keep rolling those dice.
Oh God, go to jail.
Or that.
Unless they're not listening to you, and then throw them away. God.
Dice can't listen to you. Who?
Well, I can ask the next question, which is also actually for Sarah and Jonny.
Yeah, let's keep the train going.
So Tiff joining the crew as a temporary hunter was a lot of fun. But I want to know what discussions were happening behind the scenes to make sure that Tiff could fit into the ongoing story and to also make her such an integral part of that final fight. How much information was Sarah privy to?
So as I recall, there were actually very few external conversations. It was mostly about scheduling.
Yeah.
It was just like, can you do this? And then, as I recall, Tiff just sort of pulled her character sheet more or less unchanged, but with the added deal with the agency move as an agent, but otherwise had all the same moves that she had been having in the then concurrent Monster of the Week game that we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did know about the reveal at the end because that was actually Mike, my boyfriend's idea. I was talking to him because he played in our former game, a New Teen Tiff, and I was talking about like, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure out like who she is in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, here's an idea. So I brought that to Jonny and he was like, I love it.
It's so cool.
Mike is a genius. I love it.
He's a true genius. I don't know how he did that.
I was just gonna say, and props to you for like not metagaming. Like you played that so well. Like none of us had any clue.
Thank you.
I think there was like a comment here or there where you were like, I know what that means. And then I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Jonny kept sprinkling in. He started making the queen act a little funky. And I was like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking off of that question, how did Tiff end up at Ears? Like, what brought her to Ears to start working there?
That's a good question. That's another fully headcanon thing. I assume because she was a monster hunter as a teen that she kind of ran into them at some point or became aware of their existence. And I think it's the kind of thing where like, because Tiff was really kind of like listless in high school,
Aimless.
unmoored,
Yeah.
aimless. There we go.
Yeah.
I might say shiftless,
knew
but
she
that's
wasn't going
just
to college. She had no plans for college or anything. So I think it's the kind of thing where like as soon as she was like, oh, that's a thing, like that's a job, she was like, well, that's what I'm going to do then. Made that her whole deal.
And
Yeah.
having revisited recently the like memories of that crew of that team, almost everybody else was like they were all playing teenagers in the suburbs in 2002, 2003, and almost all of the rest of them, when confronted with this supernatural world, went no thank you to all of it, and like kind of tried everything they could, didn't even want to use the powers they were getting for their advantage in the real world, just wanted to go back to normal, please. But Tiff really didn't. So that really definitely resonates that when everybody else would have grown up and gone off to college, they would have gone and got jobs and just been like, if something attacks me, I know how to kill it, but no thank you. Whereas Tiff would have gone the other way.
Yeah.
This might be off the railroad tracks, but why did Tiff like not want to go back to normal?
She, like, at the time of our game, she had just lost her entire friend group and was like going through a full like angsty high school moment. And I think it was like, I don't know, I think she felt important for the first time and like needed, because the queen was like, hey, you're just who I've been looking for. And I think it just kind of like set her on this path of like, oh, this is a purpose, like this is a place I can fit in. She was feeling very like, she had a sense of belonging.
I mean, not to like use the HP word, but it really did kind of feel like hey, there's this whole other set of problems that you are better at solving, like Harry Potter, where you are whisked away into this other
Totally.
thing, but in the bad way of like,
No, totally.
you've always had trouble fitting in over there. You totally fit in over here. And also,
Like a cult.
Like a cult. No, totally. Like Tiff has no idea how to like have an authentic friendship or like intimacy or that kind of stuff. But she was like, "Oh, monsters! I can just shoot shadows out of my hand, and I'm
you
good
want me
at
to
that."
make a shadow clone? I can make a shadow clone. You got 2 minutes. I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, big question to everybody. Are you all okay?
Things did get a little intense this past season.
Do you think this question is in person or character?
I think the spirit of the question is, are you the people okay?
Yes, because our characters know.
Yeah, character's not okay. People,
We're good. We're Gucci.
Except for Tiff. She'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. I mean, we've got some exciting things coming.
But I do, in the spirit of the question, I do want to admit, having just gone through the
Safety tools.
yeah, and realizing that I didn't do any of them at the time.
Uh-huh.
My safety tool at the time was kind of just vibes, which I do not recommend. But I do want to know this, and any of the answers is acceptable. Is there stuff that I put your characters through, mostly like Mark and et al., things that I put in your past without telling you about? Was there stuff that I did that you made you mad, that you
no,
mad or uncomfortable?
no, I don't think so. Because I mean, I welcomed the anything that kind of came through, just because that was just kind of the nature of this. Like, I don't think any of it was really negative. It just forced me to think differently about how I approach a situation. So, like, for instance, like the giving up the wings thing. I don't remember. I think that was just my, like, I came to that resolution or something like that.
It was something I had told you was an option.
Okay.
That
So
We needed something to open the hallway
Right.
in order to get Casey's
Get
history
passageway
back.
there.
yeah, you have a large problem, and this will get you a long way towards solving it. You could have found some other way.
part of me was like, no, I don't want to give up my wings because I like zipping around like a bat out of hell. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like it interested me to think about Mark without wings for a little bit, like back before I got him. Like, what does this mean? and I don't know, like I wasn't like disgruntled by that. I don't think. It was just it was kind of a nice surprise. Or I found ways to do things without it, and it created some interesting scenarios that I enjoyed. So, but I can't think of anything where I was like,
What about the whole "you're not who you thought you were" thing?
Mark actually being from there originally.
oh,
Because
yeah,
I know
yeah.
that the finding of the other Mark in the first place was a delightful bit of weirdness. Did the explanation put you off?
Yeah, that fucked me up holistically. No, I'm just kidding. No. Again, it was just kind of the same thing. It was like it was a very unexpected moment, and it was exciting and terrifying at the same time. And I wanted, like, you gave me something to focus on, and I really wanted to start kind of figuring that out, because everything that I had suddenly was in question. So yeah, I don't know. I welcome those types of things because I think it makes for a better story too.
I do want to say out loud for the listeners, especially having just gone through the safety tools thing, I don't believe that there were any surprises that I sprung on the team, except for things that occurred to me in the moment that would have been diminished by having discussed it beforehand. So
Right.
I constantly have arguments with a guy I make up in my head to get real mad at. And I think that a lot of the resistance that guy has is, oh, so there's no, okay, so I'm supposed to just spoil, like it's supposed to just spoil and like just never have any surprises anymore. And, you know, fuck that guy. I don't think any of these things was improved by the fact that you didn't see it coming, especially because, again, in this game, it's really encouraged not to metagame.
I would also say, like, on the opposite side of like Mark's stuff, I didn't necessarily know the specifics of what was going on with Kira, Well, I kind of had an inkling and like kind of knew, and Jonny kind of, I think at the time you even kind of warned me. You're like, it's pretty bad. Like, are you okay with
Yeah.
that? And I was like, yeah. So you actually did, to give yourself credit, you actually did check in with me.
Okay.
Good job. So
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad I did.
yeah.
Because that's really
Yeah.
bad. It's really bad.
But yeah, I think us as players, we're good. It's also within a year and a half since we played.
Yeah, we've had some time to
Had some
heal.
time to process.
For sure.
So it's just been fun watching and listening back to all of these things and kind of getting to re-experience it because we are so far ahead. And yeah, our characters are obviously in a rough spot, but we're doing good.
What about you, Sarah? Having played with Jonny, like also like off of a camera and microphone.
No, I don't feel like there was anything that felt like a surprise or out of character or anything like that. Like, I feel like we talked about any major stuff, and then anything else, it was like, no, Jonny knows this character, so like this all checks out.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like Jonny like knows our characters and kind of I think the journeys that they want to go on like really well. So like feel like, and we all know each other really well. So we really lucked out.
It's true because when this game started going weekly and we went through Best Friend Boot Camp, Monsterville did the same, and we did the same. Play games with your friends, guys.
Do it.
Oh, Sarah, do you want to ask this next question?
Oh, I'm glad I'm asking this because I was wondering this too, actually. I was like, I need to like catch up with the latest episode, and then I saw somebody in the Discord saying something about like the Casey and Tessa drama, and I was like, oh, I'm
There's
there
Casey
right
and
now.
Tessa drama.
Oh.
I ran. Okay, so Miah, for the dinner scene with Casey and Tessa, how much of that was planned in advance? Could that have gone differently if the dice rolls had gone differently? Did you talk about what was going to happen?
It wasn't scripted, but then when we recorded it was because
I know. I'm confused too.
Jonny and I actually did this scene off of camera and microphone.
A text RP.
Yeah, we just did a text RP because like I just wanted to know what happened with Casey and Tessa, and there was unfinished business. And yeah, so I believe all of the dice rolls except for maybe one were dice rolls that I rolled, and they were points that I used.
Yeah, that all happened. Even if we're just doing a conversation between characters, I'm going to make you roll dice.
I will admit that there was a bunch that I cut out because it didn't make sense to the story and didn't go anywhere. And when Jonny and I started that RP, I didn't know where it was going. I was just going to try and have a nice dinner with my girlfriend, and my intention was that it would go well and I could impress her and that I could give her the amethyst necklace that I bought. But it didn't go that way.
And I just had to follow my heart.
Yeah, I guess I am curious, Jonny, like, did you have any intention going into that RP of like, oh, let's fuck shit up? Or I don't...
Not at first. There was an earlier of these text RPs where it wound up being bizarrely perfect because there was an earlier version where when Tessa had been a ghost in the previous timeline, I'm fucked. When she had been a ghost, there was a time that Casey went to visit her and Tessa looked at Casey and said, "Oh my God, look at what being alive has done to you." I think that was when you killed that IS agent and buried him there in the woods. Where it ended, I wound up being very proud of. It was very messy to get there, but for her to, without knowing it, spin that line around backwards and say, "This is what being alive has done to me," I felt really good about that. And I felt really good about the fact that I didn't know that I was going to say that when she started blowing the evening up, essentially. But it really did feel like, you know, what would happen if you'd been that long away. I mean, it's that thing of like, if she would have stayed in a hotel, she probably would have slept on the floor, you know, like, because it didn't feel right.
So do you think that was Tessa's intention like the whole time to break up with Casey, or was it more just a result of the roles?
That's what I don't know about. Like, I know myself and Casey, like, being in the relationship with Tessa, and this is just, I think, how we are. We're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say like, oh,
was it always going to be like this?
I can't clearly say if this is what Casey wanted or it was going to happen, because Casey and I both wanted to try, but I think just how the dinner played out, it just some things came out.
Yeah, as far as how much of that was with Tessa all along, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I did what felt right for the character in the moment, and I didn't. Most of it hadn't been planned. I hope all of it felt true to that character. She's not great. She's not in a great space.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to record it, Jonny and I talked a little bit, and like I've mentioned, like we did record the whole thing, like almost verbatim, but being that Casey is retiring, and we're not gonna follow strings of hers anymore, I didn't think it was right to leave in strings that would not be resolved.
There were some dangling plot strings that it didn't make sense to bother with.
Okay, big question, Jonny. Do you actually love your friends, or do you love emotionally and mentally torturing us?
Well, apparently my friends love being emotionally and mentally tortured, so I'm just doing...
Okay, hold on a minute.
I'm just doing...
I think it's a mixture.
What you want. But no, yeah, I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys are really cool.
And we love you, Jonny.
But I guess on a serious note, like, do you find interest putting us in very tight situations and us having to like
It's like his
figure
favorite
that
thing.
out?
I mean, in no small way, that's the game. Like, there was some things. The thing that I learned when I started playing, there was two things that I learned when I started playing Monster of the Week, it's both the stories of letting go of other RPGs. So there was a moment and I'm going to keep bringing up Monsterville because it was the first game. There was a moment in Monsterville where it was essentially a quest giver arrived to say, I need your help. Please come with me so that we can go to the next phase of this quest. And the players, being teenagers and sitting at lunch and having other things to do for the rest of the day, were like, no, I can't go look for your stepdad or whatever because I have basketball practice. In D&D, if it would have been the wizard who sent a familiar to deliver the king needs you, and the team was like, no, man, I got work. Like, that would have driven me insane. But in a game like this, you could just be like, all right, you go to basketball practice. Let's see how that goes. And then the other thing was putting you guys in a kind of danger that I don't know how you're going to get out of it.
You've said that before, like that, like we'll end a session on like a high note where it's like, how the fuck are we going to get out of this? And you'll literally be like, I can't wait to see how you guys do it.
I don't have a plan. I don't have an exit built in here for you. That's your responsibility. And that is thrilling.
And it's so weird too, because I feel like there was always an ending plan, but I know there isn't. Just the way that things work themselves out, it's so weird.
I mean, it's true. And because it is like, I don't know, that's a big thing about this game and Powered by the Apocalypse games that I prefer over your classic D&D and D20 kind of games, which is like, I know purists are going to get mad at me for making value judgments here, but like looking back through the D&D games that I've played and run, they feel much more like obstacle courses.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I have this thing and you have to run through it and do the gauntlet
mm-hmm.
and do your skill challenges and see if you beat my game. And that, for the people who like that, that's perfect and beautiful. But this is so much more like, let's write a show together, you guys.
Yeah, and it can just like go where it needs to go, and it works.
The best way to play this game is to not know how it should end. Letting your characters and players figure it out is a lot of fun.
I'm still going to be terrified running my own game, but all right. I'll take your word for it.
It's fun. You'll do great.
And you will be terrified because it's terrifying.
Yes.
Perfect. From Duluth to Chicago and back home, we went to a lot of places in season 2. What was your favorite area and why? And that can be of the places that we went in the game or the places that we went in the game in real life.
My favorite place is not a real place. My favorite place is there.
Oh my God.
Explain.
Well, because it's world building at its finest. I mean, Jonny basically created this whole new dimension, this like whole new world for us to explore. And, we're only really just beginning to kind of understand what it is. So there's just so much mystery and intrigue to it. And like Mark's princeness, for example, and how that all factors in. And apparently there's several kingdoms there and they've got their own thing going on. So that's just, I don't know, I find that much more intriguing than any real place that I've actually been to because I'm from here, so I kind of know what to expect.
Oh, going to the bird shop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. That was...
Mark Clayton loves to go shopping.
Which is very John. John loves to go shopping.
What did I call it? Like points of light or whatever? All the little...
Cast of light?
Cast
for
of
your
light. Cast of
place,
light.
sort of, or the
Yeah.
rock place.
Stone.
But and the guy at the furniture store, like he had a whole character to him.
Paul.
Paul, yeah.
So this son of a bitch has this way about him of introducing things that's as though we talked about it before. That's like, okay, here's where I want to go and here's what it's called and this is its vibe. And it's like, all right, here's the cashier then, I guess. Here's the store I want to go into. It was Avian Flames was the name of the bird shop. And then you went to the talking shop,
you came
and
up
you
with
went to
all
Home
of
Furniture
these
where you
stores.
met with Paul. Then you went to Cast of Light where you bought some rocks.
Oh, a close second for me is also Clockwork Child as my other favorite place.
Oh, yeah.
Now that one was me.
Yes. Yeah, no, John didn't make up that one, but that is one that
That's
you
a
made
retail establishment that John Wander had no input on.
and I do have to say that Avian Flames was the first rock band I was ever in high school. So
Nice.
Anyway.
I think that the Clockwork Child is the only retail establishment that John Wander had no impact on, but he did have no impact on it.
I have to triple agree on the Clockwork Child. I was gonna say seeing Anna and Ramsey Lincoln interact, always fun. I kind of really enjoy Ears as well as Dawnbreak. Dawnbreak is always fun. They have so many characters. Yeah, I don't know. I like the characters and the people that are there.
It's the people that make it.
But in real life, I'll have to say, Lauren and I have been visiting Astoria, and they have very great crepes.
Oh, I think we briefly mentioned that one time on a call between Kira and Theo. Yeah, they have very good crepes.
Theo and Kira were supposed to have a girls' date, and Lauren and I did it in their stead. So Jonny, having faced both Casey's Question Corner and Mark being Mark, which one brought out the most surprises or randomness?
I mean, randomness, it's got to be Mark. Like,
I was going to say, I will be mad at you if that's not the case.
Me too.
I think the only way in which Casey's Question Corner has forced me to properly recalculate has been in the sort of when I'll go, is it time? It's time. Because there are times when you will ask a question in Casey's Question Corner that I'm realizing like, oh, you have put together something that I was hoping you would put together within the next 2 months. And like,
oops.
Well, I have to answer it honestly. So here's that. And then the recalculation is just like, now we have to keep moving forward as though that thing is true in this world. But Mark makes me recalculate like, all right, guess we're doing this now.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
And there's like a downtime things where he'll be like, I want to go buy a cell phone. But then there's also things where like in the process of fighting a bad guy or, investigating a mystery, he'll be like, can I try to do something crazy?
Guys, I have this crazy idea.
And goddamn if it isn't always something crazy.
In and out of the cover story, like even one shots and other things that we have done, John is always the wild card. John blows my fucking mind. I think the closest thing that I have come to randomness is asking Jonny if this is actually Tessa.
I do have to say that everybody has had their moments definitely of doing some pretty crazy stuff, but I take pride in my crazy moments.
Mhm. You're a different kind
Hell
of
yeah,
weird.
Chaos Goblin.
Okay, so this next question is for Miah. That was a nasty breakup with Tessa. Will Casey continue to keep Tessa safe as the now director of doors? And if for some reason Tessa fell outside of Casey's protection, what would Casey's reaction be if something were to happen to Tessa?
I hope that it was clearly enough implied in the scene with Casey and Tessa breaking up that Casey will try to stop Nathaniel Rose and protect Tessa. So I guess she would continue to. How much, I don't have a clear answer on. Doors is in disarray, so that takes priority. And if Casey found out that Tessa and Sigma died at the hands of Nathaniel Rose, I mean, I know what old Casey would do. I don't know necessarily what Director Davis would do.
So after the fall of the drum, what is Tiff's opinion on each of the hunters?
What do you think of us?
Yeah.
Aw, she likes you guys.
Give us the whole thing. Rip into us.
Okay, so she definitely I think Kira really like gained her trust. Like Kira went above and beyond to like kind of break Tiff's little crunchy shell, and that was really sweet. And I think she really deeply appreciated that and will always kind of have a soft spot. She definitely I think considers herself friends with Casey. I don't know if Casey feels the same way, but I think Tiff is like, that's my friend. I don't know if they still hang out. I would like to think they do.
I like to think that Casey comes and visits Tiff and Leth at their farm. Yeah.
I think that'd be really cute.
I agree.
And let's be real.
You're probably closer with Kira, but like Casey's tried.
Yeah.
I don't know, you guys had such a cute moment.
Yeah. Well,
Here's the thing, like
it was really
like
cute.
I totally think like Kira will always have like Tiff's back and all that kind of thing. But like as far as like who's gonna vibe and have more fun hanging out, it's gonna be Casey and Tiff.
I was gonna say Casey and Tiff have like a lot in common. I feel like, well, now you're dating Nick, so we can't talk about girls. But you know, whatever. She's still gonna bug Casey about it, and I feel like she probably still has a little crush on Casey. And so,
I think vice versa.
That's
Did
always
Tiff
fun.
100% learn Mark's name?
I was going to say.
Probably not. I was just going to say, Mark, she's
guy.
like completely neutral on. She's like, that's a guy. He seems fine. Everybody else likes
glad
him.
To know I'm that.
Oh my God. No, but I just remembered, Casey, she's so mad that you're dating Nick, though.
Tiff
She's
is?
so mad. She hates me.
That's
She's got a long
Wait. Are you talking about Tiff or Sarah?
Tiff.
Tiff does
Are you
not
sure?
like Nick.
Tiff would be really mad
Tiff
that you're
has
like
had beef
Nick.
with Nick all the way back to 11th grade. No, and then Theo, Tiff doesn't like Theo still. She's got a grudge against Theo.
And Anna and Tiff didn't really interact much at all either, so I don't know if she has much of an opinion on Anna. Yeah.
She would think Anna is chill, though. I think if she talked to Anna, she'd be like, yeah, she's cool.
Anna can hang. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yay.
What was everybody's favorite arc of the season? Duluth, visit back to the hallway, the zombies, winter invasion. As far as overall arcs go, what was your guys' favorite?
I don't think I have one. Like, I love the...
It's like choosing your favorite child.
Like, favorite fight here. Like, there's a second part to this question, which is like, do you have a favorite fight or encounter? I can say for sure the season finale fight against the director is my favorite because we were all working really good together as a fucking team. Like, all of us just being like, you go get him, Tiff, and like, you go over here, Mark, you go get that copter and get Dockers and whatever. Like, we all had a part to play and we're doing our own thing and like, we worked really well together. So that's my favorite fight and encounter. Favorite arc, I don't know, probably Exploding Boy. Just because of how it ends. But it's really hard.
I do want to know, because you were only in 2 of them, Tiff, which was your favorite arc of Tiff's involvement?
The second one.
The finale.
Why?
Because of the queen reveal and getting together with Les. I don't know.
She did have a lot more to do the second time.
Although, I don't know, the hijinks in the first arc it was like sillier.
Yeah, it was a little more
of,
slice
like,
of life for sure, at least for that first episode.
Yeah, and like going to the bar and stuff like that. I forgot about all that.
And throwing
Man,
the
I
pizza
don't know.
party.
Yeah, maybe the first, I don't know. I like them both.
Yeah. It's definitely hard.
John, do you have a favorite arc?
I focus more on the moments and stuff. I don't know if I you know what? I think the second arc, just because I think Mark is trying to find himself a little bit more, and there's a lot of things happening, and I mean some of it is like what the fuck, but then there's other stuff that's like, oh, okay.
Are you talking about like when Mark like finds out like his whole deal about like he's got another
Mark.
version of Mark?
Right.
And, like,
I mean
his-
that whole thing is very enlightening. It's interesting, but at the same time terrifying because it's throwing everything in question. But then also fucking cool. and
You know, I was about to throw full on shade at you that this was like, oh, you picked the arc that focuses on Mark, but I think this is my favorite arc too.
I don't know. It's just it's a scenario you don't normally think about, and then you put me in that situation, and I had to explore that, and it was interesting. Like I don't know. I like those moments. So
Yeah, I think there was a couple of things that I liked. There was a couple of things I liked about that in purely Mark terms. I think a lot of the comedy friction for Mark in season 1 was to be like, let's see what this weird character looks like trying to interact with a normal world.
right.
But I tried to get some different friction drama with like, well, what if this weird character had to interact with an even weirder world?
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about the Visible Family arc as concerns Mark Clayton. But that was also when the world kind of broke wide open. It was a lot of stuff going on with trying to weave the concept of dead life into the overall story. And
we got to see some people from season 1 return. That was fun.
We entered into, the zombie bad guys.
Sarah and Numbers. And
basically the introduction of there as a concept and as a player on the stage. So
I agree with Lauren that the exploding, like, it's hard to choose one. It's easier to choose a fight or an encounter. I do agree that Exploding Boy was very enjoyable. I think as far as like the fights and stuff, I think Duluth and like in the cave was my favorite with Theo, because there were a lot of successes, but then a lot of major failures.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first time we get to see like who Theo is and how she acts under pressure. For Casey, I really liked the fight at Mark's mom's house. Both when there was, I think it's Numbers was like shooting at us, as well as then us like sort of fighting alongside Mark's mom and her casting a spell on Casey. Like, although that was not a great thing, it made for some very interesting drama.
This next question, I can't decide if I feel less comfortable being asked it or less comfortable asking it.
This next question from our favorite keeper from the Storyteller Squad, Natalie.
I'm going to take it. So this is from Natalie, which is a general question for the cast. Why are you all so great? And when can I flirt with y'all again? And then maybe throw a monster at you?
Very soon.
Anytime, Natalie.
Yes, hit us up.
And for those of you who don't know who Natalie is, she's the keeper for the Storyteller Squad, and she did a crossover series where she had several different podcasts, including our own, for kind of a Monster of the Week crossover series. It was ours, Shrimp and Crits, $2 Creature Feature, and then The Writer's Room, which is a 7th Sea podcast, and it was so much fun.
And goddamn, her voices are great for her character. It's fucking insane.
She is a genius.
I feel like I am personally invested in getting, in some gaming capacity, Natalie and Sarah on the same game.
Oh, wow.
Like,
that would be so fun.
I'm listening.
I think you'd really like her style.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
She was very physically descriptive of Nick Sparks
Okay.
as a present.
I wasn't gonna say it, but Jonny brought Nick back. Natalie, if you ever want to text RP Nick and Casey,
God
hit
damn
me
it.
up.
No.
Whoa.
Leave it for the
She
DMs.
did ask
Spicy.
when I can flirt. So
Yeah. It was right there in the question.
Oh, all right.
For God's sake, can we ask the next question?
This next question is for John.
Oh, God damn it.
Now that Mark is collecting more furniture, when will he get a dining room table? Will he get chairs too? Will they match? Did he ever go back for that bed frame? What is he going to do with the other bed? What's Mark going to do now that he's got some more furniture in his house? What's next?
Well, first of all, no, he's not going to buy the bed frame until someone tells him he needs to have a bed frame because he just didn't calculate that one. He's like, "Oh, I need a bed. There's a bed. I'm gonna get the bed." He doesn't realize that
You sleep in a bed.
I mean, Paul didn't help.
I think he would have realized it was too close to the ground, so he would probably have propped it up on something. But he's like, how did the other people do this? You know. But I do think in the off time that we don't hear about, Mark is slowly collecting things from either his next door neighbors at rummage sales that are going around, or making other awkward introductions there, or
Yeah.
Well, and I would have liked to think as Mark was moving stuff in, he locked himself out of his house like 4 or 5 times because Casey set up this complex security system, and he just...
It's easy. It's just Casey rules with S's or Z's.
I think he forgot how to the code for that. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what's going down on that front, I think.
I've set up a pager with Mark and it goes straight to talk.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's happened so many times.
I was going to say absolutely Casey would delegate that it's like, and if Mark Clayton calls, you just read him this password.
Just read him this script.
Hi, I see
Are
you've
you
called.
locked out? No. Are you missing your keys? No. Where are you? I know that all of the listeners are wondering about this theory, but Lauren, is Kira an alter of Abigail? Who is Agent M? We are wondering if we are understanding that correctly.
So sort of. This is kind of a complicated thing, but I'll see if I can kind of try to explain it. So Ears, which became the drum, had found this entity that came over from another world that they called Abigail, and that actually was Kira as a child. Kira's actual name is Abigail Altman, and they were trying to basically recruit an alter within Kira's system to fight for humanity. It's a little unclear to me who actually is supposed to be designated Agent M. I think it maybe was supposed to be McCleary. I don't know, Johnny, if you maybe want to weigh in on all of that.
I think we're out of kind of spoiler territory on this particular part. My intention was that what they would have been coming for, if they had sort of caught up with you and done their plan, the thing they would have taken would have been McCleary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That he would have been the one that they had decided would be the most easily controlled by what is functionally a company full of cops.
Yeah.
So that was my intention. So I think a lot of the specifics around Kira and the alters and the provenance thereof, and like part of it is messy because that concept is messy. Part of it is messy because there's a supernatural origin. But I think as far as the identity of Agent M, I'm comfortable admitting that would have been McCleary.
Originally, yeah.
The outcomes of that would have been figured out at some future date and would have been a problem for future Johnny.
So that was originally your intent, was it to be McCleary?
Which is hilarious because I remember still at the time, Tiff coming to us with this information that there was this Agent M that apparently was going to be activated. And just the last session, there was a new alter introduced named Ember. And just what a crazy, happy accident it happened to be that was her name.
Oh, that wasn't an accident.
Yeah, so that was just crazy. And I don't know if it wasn't meant that way, but it sort of just shifted, and I guess it kind of worked out.
I mean, I like that better, but
the intention of the thing was that they wanted to find something they could control. The intention of the letter was that it would refer both to the one whose name begins with M, who is McCleary, and it would also, in its way, refer to the one who you trusted the least, which you had just met.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Nope, that makes sense.
I do okay.
I do okay. And I will say that I think there's more to come. And I think there's maybe more questions about this in the future, but more on that.
In the very near future.
Will develop. So
Jonny and John, was Mark moving into a neighborhood of supernaturals a subconscious move, like he was drawn there without realizing it? Or did his neighbors all move in after he did, as if they were drawn to him? Or was it just one of those Mark things that just sort of worked out that way?
I don't feel like there are supernatural happenings around the city, but like that particular area, it just happened that I was living next to Larissa and she was supernatural in nature. But I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't think there's really. I mean, I was targeted at my place by supernatural beings, but I don't know. Jonny, what are your thoughts there?
I think I'm pretty much with you. I think I don't know enough about like ley lines and stuff to have worked any of it into my mythology.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have the idea that any of these neighborhoods are metaphysically important. But what I do think, and would have happened no matter what neighborhood you would have decided to move into, I do think that there is something about Mark that anyone who is supernaturally inclined will sort of vibe in him a kindred soul. Like somebody who, say, is hiding the fact that they have horns and a tail will be like, we'll look at Mark and his definitely shouldn't be wearing those sunglasses and be like, this guy gets it. So I think it's not necessarily that there were more people in this neighborhood, but I think wherever Mark would go, those people would find him and say what's up. Since Kira has now officially taken over leadership of her cult, Dawnbreak, how is she going to work to improve their financial situation? Especially now that they don't have the dress barn anymore.
So I feel comfortable saying this because this is something that will get revealed very, like, almost immediately in season 3. Kira takes out a business loan. I'm not shitting you. She takes out a business loan and she asks for some assistance from a certain NPC that you will find out to help fund some of that. It's kind of a silent partnership. And
action-packed monster hunting action.
Yes. And so she will get a new place and we'll set up headquarters there. And so I think in between the span of time from when season 2 ends to when season 3 picks up, they'll kind of be in the process of moving things and getting their new headquarters set up. And so that will be revealed in the first episode of where that is. And I am looking forward to seeing that place get outfitted. And I am still poor, but maybe not as bad as the dress barn.
To be clear, that is one of the tags.
That is literally one of the tags that I have for my initiate cult. I have one bad tag and I think 2 good tags. And the bad tag is that I am poor, but the good tags are that they have lots of knowledge, I believe, and magical items, I think. So, okay, Miah, do you want to ask the next one?
So the fans are mostly wanting to know, not really much as Theo. Theo would rather not. But when do we get a Mark versus Bennett confrontation? And Bennett the 7th, Theo's oldest brother. And do you think that there's going to be popcorn?
Well, I can guarantee you they're too fancy for popcorn.
And you guys have already made me stop. You guys have already made me stop eating popcorn.
I would be happy to hear John or Johnny's answer.
Just keep listening, and we'll see what happens. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm not.
What did you? I want to know, like, what did you make of that initial confrontation with him, though, with Bennett, and just Theo's family in general? Because that was kind of rough go.
Yeah, no. I mean, on that front, Mark is pretty like soft most of the time. Like he's got some like kick-ass moments, but he's generally a nice person and everything. And I think he just like knew that. I think innately that this whole situation was really fucked up, and he's like borderline angry. I think the whole time at him, he doesn't know exactly how dangerous he is yet. So I think he's biting his tongue. But I think for the most part, Mark just wants to like, I don't know, just be mad at him. Like,
I'm mad at
like you shouldn't be treating the person I love like this. Aww. Or whatever.
He said it.
Oh.
Well,
Oh my God, he admitted.
Yeah, but how do you know that you loved her when it was the beginning of the season?
I mean, I don't know if it was love yet. It was just more of like, like it was somebody I really cared about. There was a lot of anime noises. Like it was a thing.
I know that I had just asked the Mark question, but I really, really, really want to know this next question. May I ask it? Sweet. Sarah, you stayed very true to Tiff's personality and to her motives, which I commend you. But knowing what you know now, is there any scene from when Tiff was in like the mystery that you would change or like react differently to? And I'm asking it because I remember, maybe you remember, but I remember us talking like, I think off mic about you saying that you wish that you had done maybe a little bit more research and known about this character or that character. Like,
well, I think you
in the
mentioned like
aftermath.
like shoulder checking Theo. Like, is there any other moments like that maybe you would have redone?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tiff would have done that. I think that was more me cringing, feeling like, I don't know that like as a player that was like respectful towards like what was happening in the scene, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? But like
Sure.
I don't know that was necessarily going against Tiff's character. Yeah, I'm sure some stuff would have played out a little differently if I felt like I had more of the background or context that Tiff would have had in the scenes.
Yeah, that's hard.
But I think the biggest thing when I was listening back that I like would wish I had done a little differently or was kind of like about was like in the reveal with the queen. I felt like that was a really like, well, it was hard because so much was happening. I was like, I don't want to spend too much time reacting to this, because like I don't want to, derail. But I think what I wish I got across a little bit more, like I think I did have Tiff talk a little bit about like, oh my God, like, am I dead? Like, what does this mean for me? Who am I? But I think I wish, I'm sure what she was feeling was like a sense of grief. Like, I wish that I had gotten across, I'm sure her reaction would have been like, oh my God, the queen is like dead. Like she's actually gone, because she had been kind of her constant companion.
Have you heard of shadow griefs or shadow grieving? I think that's the term.
I thought you said shadow grease.
No, it's when you lose something that's not an actual person. So like if you leave a job, you grieve over a job. If
Can I remind you what the Queen Concealed is made of?
Yeah, it's ironic.
They named it this backwards through time from this moment.
But yeah, like, because Tiff did say, like, when Kira asked her that question, like, who's the most important person to you? You said the queen. So, like, there is a sense of loss there, even if it was like a toxic relationship. That was sort of the only thing, I guess, that you had for a while. So it's kind of mourning that whole dynamic. And
I think she would have been like horrified and kind of devastated.
To your comment about like shoulder checking Theo, like I think it worked out, and like don't feel like bad for it because I've done that too. Like I can specifically point to Casey telling Kira like, no, you can't talk to Eggy. Like Miah felt so bad and editing it and re-listening to it. I felt so bad, but Casey would do it.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
But I do definitely vibe with the idea that it's like, no, my character would have made every single one of those decisions. I just wish I would have performed this part better. Like, that's my whole shit too. That's like, everything would have been, everything that happened to you would have still happened to you. But yeah, I don't know. I just like, the other thing about having known Tiff since she was a teenager, the like,
yeah, that does feel like a teen Tiff moment of like shoulder check.
Well, that plus, but I'm thinking also of the like queen reveal of like, especially if there would have been some part of Tiff's brain that would have been like, oh wait, so I'm the ultra powerful interdimensional demigod. Well, then I can for sure not cry. And she didn't.
True though. Oh,
her move would have been to shut down.
That one's going to take a while to process. I hope she's in therapy now.
Sarah, do you want to ask the next question?
This question is for Jonny and Miah. It was mentioned that there are 5 Maggio families. Is that just in the city or state, or are there more in other parts of the world?
I don't exactly have an answer because I had one idea and then Jonny was just like, I'll figure it out later. Which I have learned is the right way to do it. No, Jonny, you speak.
My answer was going to be much meaner, but ultimately not as mean as that felt like it was to me. When Miah started playing Theo, she had this vague idea that she would be from this sort of supernatural crime family, which we developed together and wound up naming the Maggio, and we named her family. And then it was like, okay, great, it's time to start. We can just go. And I kept getting sort of
no
after hours questions about like what's
Jonny.
the structure and what's like the hierarchy, and are there some that are like high, or are they all like I was part of a council? And I was like, I don't know.
In my defense, at one point I was trying to write a story for Theo for NaNoWriMo, which I then ditched.
In my defense, I told you, like, you just go make it up then. But also in your defense, I felt bad about it. But then I was vindicated because cut to a few months into the future and Miah started running a game that also had similarly complicated backstory with magical orders and such, and realized that it kind of doesn't pay to plan all that shit out if it's not going to come up, and you build it as it comes, which is another reason why I'm never playing Dungeons and Dragons again.
Do you know, Jonny, how many houses there are of the Maggio? Because originally I had imagined 8, but I think you had other plans.
Well, I sort of just said 5 families because that's what there is in like The Godfather. My intention of the Maggio is that it is like, especially at the time period that it would be running, it would be a modern sort of franchise, like the end of I think the second season of Fargo, where the guy moves high up enough in the mafia that they put him in an office. Like it's kind of, spoiler alert, it's kind of, it's nationwide is my intention, is my idea, that the connections that you would have would be regional, but you would get like, I don't know if you guys remember the Diners Club card, but you'd have reputational rewards waiting for you anywhere you went if you dropped your name.
I think I had asked you if the Maggio was like regional or worldwide. Do you remember what we had landed on?
I don't think we would have said worldwide.
Okay.
For the compass of our story, the people that you will meet in the Maggio are all regional. There are likely others.
Yeah. Might be an opportunity to do some side stories.
Yeah, we'll do that as an MMO.
What?
Okay. On that note,
Anyway,
next
thinking
question.
long term.
This is a fun question. So we had a listener joining us for the last listen party, and we revealed some kind of behind the scenes info about our epilogue episode that we recorded. There was a special event that actually happened during that finale, and they want us to elaborate and share that with others who weren't able to join us. So Miah and John, maybe I guess you can start. What happened? What happened during that session?
we got a new cat.
Why would you lie?
Because you all lied to me.
That's true. We did lie. Jonny and I lied
touche.
so well, and John also lied very well.
Yes. So we started recording the epilogue. It was strange that Jonny and Lauren's backgrounds were different, but they both used very believable lies.
I said that I was going to be dog sitting at my parents' house, and I believe Jonny said that his AC wasn't working, so he had to use his party room at his apartment instead of his...
Yeah, something about his AC, and I remember it was very hot, and I believed it. So we started playing our game, and one of the first things I was like, oh, maybe we should start with the funeral. That seems like a great place to start from. Lauren, do you want to do that? And you said no.
I need to work up to it, which in all fairness, I did. That was a good end of the
Yeah.
season.
So I don't exactly remember if it was Johnny's intention. I like to think that it just miraculously played out, that Theo and Mark had a very cute moment of Mark giving Theo his helmet and saying he enjoys like spending time with her and wants her to keep his helmet. After that scene, we took a break. I was eating my cheesecake, minding my own business. Everybody's camera went off. And John has many hobbies. So it was not unusual for me to hear John go into the garage. So I assumed he was going to fiddle on a bike or whatever.
As I do.
And I was minding my own business, and suddenly Lauren and Johnny appeared in my office. And Lauren said I should probably come outside. And I got up and followed Lauren out. Johnny proceeding behind me, and as soon as I like stepped out of the front door, I stepped back inside, realizing what was about to happen, because I saw my brother and sister-in-law, John's parents and brother, and John suddenly wearing a suit and holding a thing of flowers.
It was a really awkward breakup, guys.
No,
Music
but
to
yeah.
break anywhere.
Spoiler, John proposed. I said no.
Miah!
No, I said yes. It was extremely sweet.
Now I live in the basement and she lives upstairs.
We're still roommates.
We have to keep going for the podcast.
It would just be too awkward to break it up.
I think we're going to put Johnny in profile mode here.
Does this show just have that much of a brand that you can't let anything be nice for 2 seconds? It was really sweet.
It was very
really lovely.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to do the typical, like, go out to a nice place, something that was memorable and stuff and like whatever.
But
I'm
Miah
like,
was on the scent. She knew it was coming. I asked her to get a pedicure and a manicure, and she was like, "What's happening?
Why?
yeah, she was.
What's going on?"
She was on
I
to us.
I also had a dream the night before that John was proposing and sent me on like some dice candy scavenger hunt.
That's
And I already
right.
saw the ring and I was like, just give it to me already.
So that really threw you off.
Yeah, the nails threw me off. John had like lied and said he was going to have drinks with a coworker when it was actually Johnny and Lauren. We have it totally on camera where after John proposes and he put the ring on and hug and kiss, I turn to Lauren and Johnny and say, "Fuck you." Because you all lied so well. But because our loveliest friends weren't there, they were in California, but we videoed with Sarah and Mike, Sarah's significant other, and we showed them the ring.
It was really cute.
It was a very interesting exchange between everybody leading up to the events that took place. So actually, a couple weeks prior, Johnny, Lauren, and I had went out to a bar, and we were like, "All right, guys, we need to
figure something out."
like Monster of the Week
Get
style. We need to
helicopter.
like pull this heist off or whatever." So like,
John did a very, very good job. If it hasn't been stated and clear enough, John did an amazing job because I am very hard to, I like to think, surprise.
Fait accompli. John proposed. It was very sweet. We stopped playing for the night. I want to make that very clear.
Mhm.
Because can you imagine being like, "All right, yeah, thank you so much. Yes, but yes, Grandma, she said yes. Yeah. Okay, well, we have to get back to work."
yeah, it was a very timed out thing, and there was a lot of stress that went right up to the last moment because she was definitely hot on the trail and stuff. And I think it was just about the time that she was kind of getting off the trail for a little bit anyway, is when we brought the surprise, and it went very, very, very smoothly, and she did not expect a thing, and it turned out really, really cute. So
that was the part that I hadn't anticipated, was that this would have been the part that she was like, "Well, for sure not today." Like, I know it's going to happen at any moment. I know that all the pieces are in place, and I know he's right.
But they wouldn't do it during the
but
game.
for sure not during the game.
My favorite part was probably where after like you got outside, everything was going. Jonny and I were just sitting over in like our own little bubble, and we were just watching. Both of us were crying and like kind of just like proud parents, like, oh my god, our kids are getting married. It was very cute. So
Sunrise, sunset.
It was a whole thing. It was really good, but
then it became a party, and then we had a big party.
when we pulled out the champagne, we couldn't get the cork off, so it took like 40 tries, and we ended up just giving up on that. So, yeah. Anyway,
can't wait for the wedding. All right. Who wants to ask the next question?
Jonny, aka the executive producer, when did you come up with the idea of Ember? Was she in your plans from the beginning, or did something specific trigger profile mode and give birth to her in your brain before transferring her to Kira's?
What a way to put that.
You're gonna hate this, but I don't know. There's a couple of background things going on that like wove in together that I don't know if I'm ready to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That like certain characters, backstories, etc., that something had happened with Operation Tourniquet that made something happen. And then I think from there it was a bit of reverse engineering. She for sure was not in my plans from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of there being some big sort of monstrous supernatural thing at the beginning or at the bottom of Kira's situation was even not necessarily in my head until somewhere in the middle of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is very unsatisfying, but I do not think there was a specific trigger.
I do kind of wonder though, because I distinctly remember when we did that whole like kind of mind device thing with Erin, when Kira kind of went into her mind and there was, she saw Dad there, and we kind of had, I think, a glimpse of maybe what was Operation Tourniquet. I distinctly remember you at the time, you saying that you kind of knew what was going on, but you weren't 100% there. But I think that might have started the conversation and started the gears turning on what was going to eventually happen. And it maybe took some time to get there, but that's kind of what I think sparked it.
Yeah, there's definitely, there's some stuff there, but I just don't know if I'm ready to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there will be more stuff coming, I think, in season 3 that I'm very excited to get into with Ember and such. So stay tuned for that. Miah. How will the invisible family and doors interact down the line?
Well, the main question would be you'll have to listen to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, Casey's intention is to build bridges and repair what the old ears has done. And that's not just to the invisible family, it's also to everybody else.
So thematically relevant, building bridges and opening doors.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that was definitely like very big on Director Davis's to-do list, which was sort of build a consortium, if you would, some kind of paranatural internet, to sort of clumsily grasp at a term. That phrase also is another subtle prank on Miah.
Speaking of Miah, from choosing to learn blood magic to jamming a supernatural eye into her own head, Theo has shown a tendency to be impulsive. Do you think that that's something you wanted to do when you made her? Or was it something that that's just Miah?
No, she does that daily.
Yeah, she shoves eyes near her face.
Every time she's an eye.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say that I don't think that Theo is impulsive, but I feel like I would be lying. I think it's her, because I don't think that I'm that impulsive.
Yeah, but you do like character consequences. That is very much a Miah
character
thing.
Consequences.
Yes.
I think Theo and I dyeing our hair is an acting out of trying to have control. But I would say like learning blood magic, using the eye, and maybe other impulsive things that Theo does. There's a deeper meaning behind them all. And I'll be honest, it's been, a year and a half? And I think I just figured out why.
More to come in season 3 is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I honestly would say, like, if you want to learn more about what's the deal with Theo Nessos, Just keep listening to season 3.
How long till the first supernatural trainee happens? I.e., not a person who is already a veteran hunter joining the team, but some kid with powers that wants to help and needs full training. That's to Jonny.
So this question I had fun thinking about because when I initially started playing this game, I kind of broke it a little bit. And because I wanted my characters to be teenagers in the town I grew up in, circa the year I went to high school there. So I needed them all to start without much magic and then end the first session with a bunch of magic. But what I learned with that is that this game really isn't built for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's built to be like you are picking up with a group who's been doing this forever. And so my initial answer to this question was, we're not going to do that because that's not how this game works. And then I remembered what happens in season 3, and I realized that the answer is almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
Stay tuned.
very soon, someone like this arrives. Apparently, we are just as eager for it as you are, so stay tuned.
Oh my god, I don't even know if I can pronounce all these names. Scarmiglione of Earth, Cognazzo of Water, Barbaricha of the Wind, and Rubicante of Fire. Jonny, what inspired you to use those characters in the cover story?
We've mentioned this in the opening of at least one of the episodes that I had kind of not been making you guys fight monsters for a while. And that episode / arc was years before I started interacting with other actual plays and realized that you are supposed to use cryptids. You are supposed to use legendary monsters, but because I'm what I'm like, when it came time to be like, well, I want them to fight something big and I want them to fight something monstrous, the biggest and most monstrous thing I could think of at the time were the elemental archfiends from Final Fantasy IV. I could visualize them perfectly. I could describe them in exquisite detail. And I think because I had already been, between this game and the other game that I had been playing at the time, there was a lot bound up in elements, i.e. you found with the Queen Concealed and Mr. Green, and like this idea that there are primal forces of the earth. And, you know, I'm one of those guys that reads Neil Gaiman. I like the idea that those primal forces of the earth are given physical and interactable power by the combined force of will of humanity. So why wouldn't they take their form from popular media?
Well, and it's like that age-old adage, write what you know. Like,
that's also true.
Yeah, like that is something you clearly knew very well and you've wanted to bring it into the world. So
yeah,
makes sense.
Come at me, Square Enix.
Yeah.
So Jonny, using the picture of Lauren as the otherworldly entity, it was an absolute masterstroke. How long were you holding that in your back pocket? And more importantly, how did you get your hands on the picture?
I get it. I'll take the last answer first. Take the last question first, I think. For reasons unclear. Well, no, for reasons of
we have
friend.
a fucking group chat and we posted a bunch of embarrassing photos of each other for some goddamn reason. And Jonny thought it would be funny to bring that back to haunt me because he's an asshole.
It was a best friend boot camp thing where John started sharing pictures of himself as an embarrassing teenager. And I went and found some pictures of myself as an embarrassing teenager.
And then I found a bunch of embarrassing photos of myself and some really cute ones, by the way. And you chose the most embarrassing ones. So screw you.
I will say that I did not choose it because it was the most embarrassing. I chose it because it was where you most looked like you were about to start crying.
Great. I love that even more.
And I don't think I had that in my back pocket all that long. But yeah, the actual idea of using it came probably pretty late, even in the creation of the document, because I was all set for the like bullshit off the rack Microsoft Office 2007 ass template to be the most terrifying thing of this. And then I realized, like, I can show a visual aid of Object Abigail.
I still remember too when you sent the PowerPoint to us after the session, and I think you said like in the email like please enjoy, and I still remember to this day Sarah replying, "I will not enjoy," or like no thank you or something like that. It's like
I remember that.
thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, please enjoy is a professional term that I use when I want to send a document that I've worked on to my coworkers and I don't also want to say anything else. I say please enjoy. It's from a Beck song.
Speaking of Sarah, we actually have one more question for you. Miah, do you want to ask it?
What was the last straw that made Tiff decide to finally kill the Queen Concealed?
She ate my leftovers and she didn't ask first.
Beautiful.
No,
I'm here for it.
I think it was definitely Leth shit. I think Leth probably gave an ultimatum, or like not necessarily just Leth. No, I mean the Queen had been like driving a wedge between Tiff and like literally every other relationship in her life. I think Tiff had lost like most of her friends at this point, and I think she was like, this is like untenable with having a normal life.
I think the only actual like factual seed that's canonical at this point is that one of the last things that Tiff said to Leth was, "I'm going to do it. Like, I see you. I'm going to do this." And then she never came back.
Oops.
But she did it.
She did it. I wonder why she didn't come back after. Like, if new Tiff was like blocking that for a reason because she knew that Leth would dig into it and like find out what actually happened or something.
I think the answer is worse because it's not about new Tiff. It's about the new queen. And now that you're the queen,
what do you mean?
Because as I understand it, the idea was that the queen in her power manufactured herself a Tiff, and that Tiff would definitely have this weak point unless I take that away from her.
She cock-blocked herself.
From you, Mom. She learned it from watching you.
That's horrible. Thanks, I hate it.
But that's what Tiff would have learned from Queen Concealed. So.
Okay. So I want to clear something up. Like since this arc focused on ears, how secretive is it? Like how known is magic to the people of this world? Like some of the stuff seems like it must have gotten like leaked at this point.
So to finally sort of put this, just articulate it out loud, my intention is that magic is something that has not been absorbed into the culture, i.e. there is no like Ministry of Ghosts or any such thing, but the existence of ears and the threats that they face is something that is occasionally encountered by normies, but is either willfully ignored or naturally suppressed by their human defense mechanisms. The idea is like most people don't talk about it, and the people who do talk about it they don't talk about it for very long. If there was this kind of magic in the real world, you would be so scared of it that you would want it to go away.
Okay. So now speed round?
Guess what, idiots? It's time for the fucking speed round.
Woo!
We got so many GD questions. We got to go through them very quickly. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. When Casey used that luck point at the end, did she still have some, or was she technically doomed when she retired? Miah.
She's doomed.
All right. John. Is the Ack Attack back, baby?
I've forgot about him several times, then I keep coming back to him.
Maybe he'll return.
Maybe he'll return.
There must always be a director. The director said this phrase more than once. Is there a mystical reason for that, or was he just being melodramatic/arrogant? He was both being melodramatic and arrogant and trying to lay seeds for the deal with Mr. Green and the Queen. Since the director is still alive as of the end of season 2, did the actual position of director pass to Casey? Yes. Will we get to see full character sheets, including possibly moves lost over the course of the game when the show is over? Was Theo's ring finger cut off because it was traditional in her family, or as a reminder, or because of related to her sister's death? Miah?
Keep listening.
Do you think Mark's mom would knit each of you a sweater for Christmas? John?
Yes. Even Tiff.
Oh, I was gonna say not me.
Oh, you got a good
She
heart.
doesn't know me.
You were there at dawn break.
Miah, can we get a full list of the names of Theo's direct family?
Yes, I'll start from the bottom. Theo, Selena, Deacon, Kathleen and Katerina, Jacob, Bennett the 7th, and then Bennett the 6th, and Odessa.
Are the parents.
You said that with such confidence.
Is Riley really dead and gone? Yes.
Yes.
What happened to Larissa, the girl taking care of Lariat? Did they have any hijinks while everyone was away? That's a question for the fan fiction writers to answer. Jonny panned to the camera to the fireplace, but generally, how did Anna's date with Diego go? Well, I panned to the camera to the fireplace,
Hey.
didn't I?
Let me answer that. I was the one on a date
This
too.
is lightning round for us, not you.
Yeah, you don't get to answer every question and also ask them.
Jonny panned the camera to the fireplace, but generally, how did Anna's date with Diego go?
I think it went really well. I think Anna and Diego have a lot in common.
Mark has Lariat, Theo has Sevdominos, Kira has Tommy. What would Casey and Anna's ideal pets be?
Hey, Kira also has
Oh
Edgar.
my
by the
God.
way.
Oh God.
Casey has a garden.
Anna, stay tuned for season 3.
John, you've driven Jonny nuts for years now with Mark. Will we be seeing a second character in the future?
Stay tuned. I mean, no. No. Not at all.
I was like, no, you don't.
John, was the decision to give up Mark's wings an impulsive decision based on the dice, or was it something you'd thought about in advance?
No, Jonny was in my head and he just made me do it.
What eventually was the acronym for DOORS?
It is still a dedicated otherworldly organization responding to the supernatural.
Is there any chance of getting an origin story for any of the characters? Like Kira in her cult days, young Casey learning to shoot from her brother, Theo's happy childhood, etc. Mark and other Mark growing up? Maybe a Patreon thing? Maybe stay tuned. In the upcoming season 3, will we get to dive deeper into the lore behind what happened when the invisible family was practically annihilated?
Yes.
Maybe
We
should
stay
just leave.
tuned.
Jonny can just do this by himself.
Yeah.
Right?
That one was a question for me. Premise.
one was a
Each of the
question for him.
characters gets sick. Call it a cold. How do each of them react? Who's the biggest baby? Who's the grumpiest? Biggest baby, go.
Mark.
I am not a baby.
Grumpiest, go.
Anna.
Anna. I don't know. What is Tiff like? Does she get really grumpy when she gets colds?
I was gonna say, I think Tiff would like stubbornly try to power through it, but actually be fucking everything up really bad and then
Aw.
collapse and be like, I can't do it.
maybe biggest baby is
No,
Tiff.
you know what? Honestly, Mark would be the biggest baby because he wouldn't understand what that feels like. He'd be like, am I dying right now?
I was going to say Tiff Torres would probably earn the nickname Tiff, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes I'm fine. Yeah.
Well, that's
Casey
all
would
of
power
the
through it.
questions. Yeah, so would Kira. Anna would just be grumbly, grumbly, grumbly. Fuck you, Lincoln. Fuck you, Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck
Extra
everything.
grumpy.
Yep.
Donovan, I think you just wouldn't see for a while. Nick would keep showing up and fucking up. I don't think Lincoln Ramsey does get sick. Tommy would stay home.
Aww.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note,
First of all, before we conclude, I want to say thank you so much to Sarah.
Thank you so much,
It was
Sarah.
so much fun
Hey,
playing with you.
thank you.
We had so much fun. I know the listeners loved you.
It was amazing.
It was such a joy to get to play with you for the 2 arcs that we had you with us. So.
Hey.
I don't think this is the last that we will see of you, though. At least not.
Aw.
Yet. Stay tuned.
I do hope that we can get you into some crossovers and such, because there's a couple of the people that are playing this game out there in the world are really cool and fun, and I think you'd like a lot of them. So I'm hopeful that you and potentially Mike can make some time and and play with some of these guys. They're really cool.
I would love that very much.
I think it is now time to finally fully articulate that thing that we've been clumsily teasing this entire episode, which is that in the future, the very near future, in fact.
A week from now.
Yes. The very 1 weekly future, we will be not just on your podcast platforms, we will be on Patreon.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo!
You're going to love it because we love you.
In like a normal way.
Yeah, it's not weird. Thank you very much for joining us for not only this episode of Covering the Story, but also for joining us for all of season 2. We've been so appreciative to have all of you here listening to us and joining us on this adventure. This has been the Monsters Playbook, featuring
John Wander as Mark Clayton.
Lauren Johnson as Anna and Kira Ashwood.
Miah Detjen as Casey Davis and Theo Nessos.
Sarah Baker as Tiff Torres.
and Jonny Grubb as literally everybody else. Our theme song is by me, Jonny Grubb. The Monsters Playbook is produced and engineered by Miah Detjen and edited by Miah Detjen and Lauren Johnson. If you liked this episode, please tell a friend. We love friends. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Monsters Playbook, and on Twitter at Monster Playbook, and on Web 1.0 at monstersplaybook.com. And come hang out with us on Discord. We're fun. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with the first episode of Season 3, where, as always, I'll have some good news and some bad news. Thanks for listening. We got all the wiggles out, gang.
Wiggles.
No.
What's a wiggle?
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Okay.
Yep, just take.
I got you.
Thank you,
I
Sarah.
got you.
Thank you. Wiggle with it.
Is this a Gen Z thing?
That
or-
was if that's a song I do not
Show me what you
Wiggles.
do with that big fat butt.
That's gonna be the blooper.
I'm really,
I'll find it for you.
no, that's okay. I really have begun to value my ignorance of whatever this is that you guys are talking about. I love not knowing about it, and I'm just going to keep doing it.
Casey Davis. The dinner scene with Casey and Tessa. Sorry, Justin is trying to open my door. Please stop, Justin. Justin, come on, man. It's like
Can you like slip a
it's
treat
like a
under the door?
Velociraptor.
Just be like, please go away.
I forgot to lock it, so I'm like seeing the handle go like this, and I'm like, oh. Okay.
Justin, door, later.